Our reading today, sometimes I don't like to call it lessons. I like to call it reading because that's really what we do, read and let the scriptures teach. We're going to do, I had a different name for it. We're going to do from Mystery Babylon to the wilderness to the land of Israel. That's the name of this lesson. You might have heard it in another form called The Wilderness, the Place of Safety. But I'm giving it, You might have it written down? Yeah. But I was inspired to do this because you have a lot of Israelites that really be about trying to go back to Israel. You know, and they almost teach going back to Israel like it's a doctrine. Like it's a doctrine, like it's like a must. But I'm like, it's like, and I kind of approach it from my own opinion, because I do have an opinion about it. But my opinion is still based off of what I read in the scriptures. So when I ask any of these Israelites concerning what's your biblical dynamic for going back to the land, they don't really give me one. They give me just ideology, so to speak. I'm like, when it come down to the land, we have to really be a little bit more circumspect, because my thing is, I'm going to tell you what my philosophy is. My philosophy is that I am not going to go to the land of Israel until I can call the shots, because it's home for me. And if I go there and I got these people telling me what to do, where to go, whatever, that's not going to sit right with me. And it would sit right with me if I can go in the scriptures and see a precedent for that. But I don't see a precedent for that. I don't see it. And if anybody know of any precedent for that, feel free, online or whatever, to hit me up and say, well, what about this? What about that? I'm all ears. But as far as I can glean, there's no precedent for that. I know that the Father scattered us out of the land. And I had posted this on my social media the other day. I say, you have been sent to your room and you can get out whenever you feel like you want to get out. Said no good parent ever. Because that don't make any sense. If the Father had put you in a certain place, well, not so much as put you in a certain place, but put you out of this place, then where is the precedent that says, oh, well, you can just get up and go back whenever you feel like it? Right. Exactly. And the scriptures let us know clearly the order in which we're going to eventually get back to the land. So people go to the land now and they'll say, man, it's so beautiful there. And y'all, man, the best foods is there. And you just don't understand. It's so beautiful walking the streets and you be seeing stores shut down on the Sabbath and all that. But then there's a dark side to the land too that they don't never talk about and never bring up. But no matter how beautiful it is, no matter how dark it is, whatever, I know that the Gentiles is trying down the land right now. It's not the Holy Land. It is technically, but the Father has to do something to that land in order to be the kingdom of the Most High in that land. And there's nothing that we can do in regard it. So people be like, Josiah, so you would die, Josiah, without ever even stepping foot in the land? I'm like, okay, well, what's the problem? And the reason why I say what the problem is, because why this person is mystified at the fact that I could actually die without stepping foot in the land. I'm like, where's your belief at? Where does your belief lie? It's supposed to, right? Huh? Well, okay, but let's look at, right, exactly. But let's look at it from like a biblical sense, not only from that prophetic. Cause yeah, we can do the prophetic all day long. But I'm like, okay, put me in line with Abraham. I could be Abraham. Abraham had a promise that a mighty nation will come up out of the blessed nation, the covenant nation, right? Abraham never lived to see it. Huh? He never, but he knew of the promise, but he died, and I would like to think he died content. Never seen the blessings that would come from him directly. You have 12 patriarchs, right? 12 patriarchs. They never saw a nation of Israel. Benjamin, Yahudah, all them. When they died, they was in Egypt. Died in Egypt. Never ever having entered into the land. Moshe, the lawgiver, who we follow, the lawgiver, right? He was not even allowed to walk into the land himself because of this one minor transgression that he committed, because he got in his feelings because of the wickedness of our people, right? He had an excuse, but nevertheless, the Father don't deal with excuses. I tell you to do it this way, you do it some other way because you get mad, so be it. You can't go in. But yet, he died as a righteous man in the promise. So I don't have no problem being like that, because if what I believe is truth, then that means that I'm going to get into that land one way or another. If what I believe ain't truth, then I'm not missing nothing. Israel might as well be Disney World to me. Well, I've been to Disney World, but I'm just saying, it might well be no different from any other place to me. I'm not missing anything. Yeah. But that's just, again, my philosophy. But my philosophy still has a scriptural base. So when people talk about how I say, look, all this beauty that you see over there, everything that you see over there, Scripture is going to be destroyed. It's going to be burned with fire. There is no building of holiness and righteousness in that land that when the Father comes, he'd be like, oh, wow, look what I done came to, the beautiful land of Israel. That's not what the Scripture says at all. When he returns, he's going to burn that place up with the inhabitants inside thereof. And we're gonna read a lot of that. But anyway, there is a biblical order in how we will get into that land, and that's what we're gonna read. Let me see. First, we're gonna focus on Babylon, because Scripture really deals with three versions of Babylon. Started out, the first Babylon was Nimrod. Right. He was the first Nimrod. He was considered basically the king over the whole earth, basically. Then the second Babylon is a people that they're not even related to Nimrod, because Nimrod was an Ethiopian. Right. Yeah. But the Babylonians of Nebuchadnezzar's day, they were, right, exactly. They're Gentiles. That was the beginning of Gentile reign on the earth, from Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon, the Medo-Persia Empire, the Greek Empire, and the Roman Empire. Okay. Those are the four horns that we're going to read about them. And then this last Babylon, the prophecies and the scriptures refer to it as the daughter of Babylon, which is where we are now. That's where we are now. So when we read these prophecies that we're about to read, it's pertaining to this end time Babylon, the same Babylon that the roster's been teaching about for I don't know how long, right? Ain't that what they've been calling it? They've been calling it Babylon, and we hear it, but we don't really comprehend it. But they got that whole dynamic directly out of the scriptures, okay? So I'm going to start this reading in Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47. And we're just going to read and glean what we're going to get from it. Isaiah 47, like I said, this might be two parts because this is kind of a somewhat lengthy lesson. Isaiah 47 will start off at verse 1. And it reads, it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahuah of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Yisrael. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. And again, when we talk about the Lady of Kingdoms, that's America. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at, for as long as America has been a nation, and maybe I'm biased because I am an American by citizenship, but what other nation on earth do you know where you have people from all over the world come to what they call here the New World for a chance of a better opportunity? If there's a place on this earth that exists, to me, that would be considered to be, what is it called here? The Lady of Kingdoms. I'm in the 5th verse in Isaiah 47 and 5th verse. That to me sounds like the Lady of Kingdoms, or as they call it, the land of opportunity. That's what it seemed like. Okay, and verse 6 says, he says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. Thou, Babylon, no daughter of Babylon, thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that says in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Remember that 9th verse there, because we're going to read that again later on in the New Testament. It's going to say the exact same thing concerning this Babylon. And it talks about what this Babylon represents, what it has in it. It says again, they should come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries. So this country is about sorceries and for the great abundance of their enchantments. So all of these things that make up this country, other countries in this earth desire these things. They want these things. Everything that comes up out of here is desired in other nations. Mm-hmm. Whether we're talking about the food for whatever reason. When you think about it, you're like, man, why do McDonald's do good in other nations? As if they don't have better food. Mm-hmm. But the enchantment part is the whole marketing dynamic. It's the capitalist dynamic that make them be able to have a McDonald's in the deepest parts of Asia. Because, you know, they got good food there, but it's not McDonald's. You know, it's almost like, huh?
It's so crowded.
Yes.
McDonald's,
Yeah.
that
right.
They make a killing.
Right.
They make so much money in Asia.
Right. And we just saying Asia, but we talking about Eastern European, everywhere.
They have it even in the remote places.
Remote, right.
Like very cold places.
Right.
Like Alaska.
Right.
And, you know, all have one McDonald's.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's kind of like enchantment and sorcery. It's like a seducing spirit. Mm-hmm. It's like when we were children and we didn't know any better. How did we know McDonald's? We didn't know McDonald's because we just passed by McDonald's. Mm-hmm. We knew McDonald's because Saturday morning cartoons, we saw Ronald McDonald chasing the hamburglar.
Yeah.
And we used to, man, huh?
I actually do, yeah.
And Grimace with the shake and all that, man, no, that's seducing. Mm-hmm. You want a McDonald's. You don't want to, and you definitely don't want your mother to try to fix you no burger. That's not going to be a good idea. You know what I'm saying? But that same thing that affected us as a children, it really affected the whole world. And we just use McDonald's as an example, but there's so many other things that, I mean, even when you just think about modern day inventions, most of the stuff was created right here in this country that the whole world partakes of.
Right.
Now, Japan has perfected, a lot of these inventions, but they didn't invent these things. It started over here in America. So all these things is from a biblical dynamic. You could just see that whole enchantment, sorcery, huh?
Witchcraft.
Yeah.
If you notice, everything magic. They use magic in a lot of a lot of these artists who songs. Everything is magic. If you look at their album covers,
Right.
a lot of the times they have magic in there.
Right.
Some of their songs has magic. Now, if you look at going to the stores like Toys R Us,
Right.
a lot of stuff is magic.
Right.
Magical stuff. So even that itself, even you talked about Walt Disney, magical.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
So
that's
that
correct.
is the
Right.
enchantment of
Right.
itself, too.
Right.
And even all of these TV shows that they
Yeah,
have now
yeah.
is all magic.
Right.
And all of the kids' cartoons and stuff is all magic.
Mhm.
The witch,
Mhm.
the this,
Mhm.
the that,
Mhm.
the fairies, all that
Yeah.
is magical.
Right.
So all that is what they're encouraging the kids
Right.
to think of all these magical
Right.
things, and also to within themselves to come up what they want to be. This lifestyle of this magical lifestyle to say that if you can make yourself, what is that I'm trying to think of? You know how they kind of play the kids imagination.
Okay.
They always say, imagine yourself, imagine yourself, imagine yourself. It's almost like another form of magic. If you imagine yourself using,
Right. Well, yeah. And like you're right, especially when you talk about movies, because when a movie hit, it goes overseas and it makes twice as much money as it makes here. We don't know nothing about their movies for the most part. Those movies in our mind are considered foreign movies or independent movies, but our movies are blockbusters, and they go over there. They know all about. I done seen comedians, specifically black comedians, that had went to different places, and they were shocked that the people knew everything about them, quote lines to them, and they like, wow, you know about this? That just shows you the impact of Mystery Babylon, how it just impact, and the music. Oh man, the music is like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're all singing Justin Timberlake songs.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, yes.
Let me give you all, if you ever go to an Indian restaurant or watch an Indian TV show, Bollywood, if you watch Bollywood, I've never seen someone that put in every hip hop dance in one song. I'm like, they dance better than everybody else. If you can do 1,000 hip hop dance in one song and keep moving, I'm like, wow.
Right.
And a lot of their music spinning off.
Yeah.
All
Now that's
a lot
interesting.
of music here in the United States. It's interesting.
Right.
Never watch it.
Right. And see, I don't know how old Bollywood is. I really don't.
It's pretty old. It's old.
Is it older than Michael Jackson? Is it older than Michael Jackson?
Maybe not.
And see, the reason why I say Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson, when he came out with Beat It and Thriller, he was the one that for me originated that whole dancing, and I got 8-9 people doing that, because that's what Bollywood is, right? But Michael Jackson was the one that started that whole dynamic that just about every artist came and did what Michael Jackson do. Dance with 8, 9, 10, 11 people dancing. Before him, that was not something that you saw. But he absolutely did,
Spent a lot of time with it.
Yeah. But all that again is just Babylon. It's Babylon. It's the enchantments and the sorceries of Babylon that the whole world looks at and be like, wow, That we want that. We don't. It's not even good unless it comes from America. That's how they say it. Okay. Verse 10 it says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me." And I had to keep that verse in mind because, again, all wisdom and knowledge is not good wisdom and knowledge, and that's a good example of that there. Verse 11. "Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and the desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, and none shall save thee." Okay, and then we're gonna get directly into the next chapter, Isaiah 48, verse 1. It says, "Hear ye this, O house of Yaakov, which are called by the name of Yisrael, and are come forth out of the waters of YAHuWaH, which swear by the name of YaHuWaH, and make mention of Elohim of Israel, but not in truth nor in righteousness. For they call themselves of the holy city, and stay themselves upon Elohim of Israel. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. Because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is an iron sinew, and thy brow brass. I have even from the beginning declared it to thee. Before it came to pass, I showed it thee, lest thou shouldst say, Mine idol have done them, and my graven image and my molten image have commanded them. Thou hast heard, see all this, and would not ye declare? I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou didst not know them." Let me see. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. "They are created now and not from the beginning, even before the day when thou heardest them not, lest thou shouldst say, Behold, I knew them. Yea, thou heardest not. Yea, thou knewest not. Yea, from the time that thine ear was not open, for I knew that thou wouldst deal very treacherously, and was called a transgressor from the womb. For my name's sake will I defer my anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. For my own sake, even for my own sake will I do it, for how should my name be polluted, and I will not give my glory unto another? Hearken unto me, O Jacob, and Israel, my call. I am he, I am the first, I also am the last. My hand also have laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand has spanned the heavens. When I called unto them, they stand up together. All ye assemble yourselves and hear, which among them have declared these things. Yahuwah have loved him. He will do his pleasure on Babylon, and his arm shall be on the Chaldeans. I, even I, have spoken, yea, I have called him, I have brought him, and he shall make his way prosperous. Come ye near unto me, hear ye this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning, from the time that it was, there am I. And now Yahuwah Elohim and his spirit have sent me. Thus says Yahuwah." Hold on one second. Let me skip down. I want to skip down to the 20th verse. It says, "Go ye forth of Babylon, flee ye from the Chaldeans, with the voice of singing declare ye, tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth. Say ye, Yahuwah have redeemed his servant Jacob, and they thirsted not when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed out. There is no peace, says Yah, unto the wicked." So basically, in the 47th chapter, we was basically reading about Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, and the wickedness, the enchantments, the sorceries, and how the Father's going to bring Babylon to the end. And then in the 48th chapter, he was focusing on Israel and about how wicked we are, that we cause ourselves to be under the thumb of Babylon. But now, in the end time, he's telling us that we're going to have to flee out of Babylon. We're going to have to get out of Babylon because Babylon days is basically numbered, okay? Let's go into Isaiah 16th chapter. Isaiah the 16th chapter. Oh, okay. Isaiah the 16th chapter, and we're going to start this at the first verse. Isaiah 16 and verse 1, and it reads, it says, send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah to the wilderness and to the mount of the daughter of Zion. And every time I read daughter, to me, it's like a future connotation, right? Because you have Zion, but then it says daughter, it's like it's applying to us. Like when you read daughter of Babylon, it's replying to the present day Babylon, not the ancient Babylon. So that term daughter is it's giving you like that future connotation there. It says, verse 2, it says, for it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the forest of Arnon. Take counsel, execute judgment, make thy shadow as a night in the midst of the noonday. Hide the outcast, berate not him that wandereth. Let my outcast dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceaseth, the oppressors are consumed out of the land. And in mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth in the tabernacle of David, judging and seeking judgment and hastening righteousness. So, because of the fact that we do see the prophetic dynamic of the tabernacle of David being raised up, because it's not being raised up now, future, we know that when it's talking about his outcast, it's talking about Israel. And it's giving us a geographical place of where we gonna flee to, Moab. So, interesting enough, when we look at the wilderness, when we came up out of Egypt, what were those places in the wilderness that was considered the wilderness? The places that we came out of Egypt, but they were in the wilderness on the way to the Holy Land. Y'all remember some of those places?
Yeah. I remember. Who's those giants?
Right.
Oh.
Well, here's a clue. I think there were three. I'm going to say two. It's actually three, but we're going to go with two. Two specific nations that existed, that when we came out of Egypt on the way to our land, we wanted to go in them, but they like, no, you can't go here. So we had to go around them.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I can't remember.
Right.
oh, I do remember that.
Uh-huh.
I remember the land.
Well, I'm going to tell y'all the two of it. It may have been three of them, but I'm going to tell y'all the two. It was Moab and Ammon.
It was ringing in my head.
Right.
I wasn't sure.
Moab, and I'm not going to read this, but you go back into Exodus, you'll read that Moab and Ammon. We wanted to go in, and they're like, no, y'all can't come through. Moab and Ammon. So those were the two. And those two nations happen to be the two nations of that confederacy that we read about in Psalms 83.
Oh, okay.
Moab,
Yeah.
right. And Moab and Ammon, those are Lot's descendants.
Right.
His children, his two sons that he had through his daughters.
So then the third one, was that Edom?
Yeah, Edom, absolutely. It was Edom, right. Moab, Ammon, and Edom. Because, like you said with the giants, because, they inhabited all those lands, like you say. But when the Father gave us our land in Canaan, he also gave Moab their land.
Right.
And he gave Ammon their land, and he gave Edom their land. We are the newest nation of all of them.
Right.
right? The newest nation of all them. They already had established their nation. And matter of fact, I don't even want to try to find this. That's in Deuteronomy when it breaks it down concerning, wait a minute, I think it's Deuteronomy the 3rd, when it breaks down, when he breaks that down concerning how he gave them the lands from them giants, like you say, who's all their names in with the M's. Where is it at? I think that's in I believe that's somewhere here in the 3rd chapter. Is it the 3rd chapter? The second? Oh, the 2nd chapter. It might be the 2nd chapter. 2nd chapter of Deuteronomy. I'm not going to read it, but anyway, it's the 2nd chapter of Deuteronomy, and you will read. Just read the 2nd chapter of Deuteronomy to show you what Moab had, who lived there. The Edoms dwelt there, and then Moab and Ammon, it said the Horims dwelt there in times past, and it talk about Edom, and then the Avims and them, the Zazuzims, and all them dwelt in those lands that he. So it was almost like around the same time that we took over those lands. So but anyway, what we just read though here in Isaiah 16th chapter was a key for us in understanding that at the end time, Moab, specifically, because that's who it calls here, is going to be that place of refuge for us. And it's absolutely, according as we can see it in Exodus, is part of the wilderness dynamic. Right? Because it was on the way to the Holy Land. It was between Egypt and the Holy Land. You had to go through that, but we had to go around them because the Father said, okay, I'm not going to let y'all deal with them. Let y'all, whatever, just go around them. Don't mess with them. And that's what we did. We took the long way home. Okay. Let me see, is there anything else I wanted to read here? Hold on one second. Hold on one second. We ended at 5. All right, we ended at 5. Okay, I'm just going to leave that there for now because I got a lot of reading to do. But anyway, the only reason why I went there is just to show that the Father's letting us know that he says, let my outcast dwell with thee, that Moab is going to be a place of refuge. That's all I wanted to draw out of there. If I keep reading, he's going to pronounce different judgments on Moab, period, but we ain't going to read that. We're just going to stay in the fact that that's a place of refuge for us before the throne of the tabernacle of David be established. And see, that's key too, because until the tabernacle of David is established, we ain't supposed to be in our land. And that's basically what he's telling us right there, right? But look, Moab, let my outcast dwell with you. Because at the time appointed, the tabernacle of David will be established. And then they're going to go into the land. Real simple dynamic. But that's the order in which the Father got us dealing with. Let's go into Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 50, and I'm going to begin this reading at the first verse. Jeremiah 50 and verse 1. And it reads, the word of YAH spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say Babylon is taken, Baal is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days and in that time, says Yahuwah, the children of Yisrael shall come. They and the children of Yahudah together, going and weeping, they shall go and seek Yahuwah the Elohim. And it's important to understand that we had a Babylonian captivity before, right? When we was captive in Babylon. But when we was captive in Babylon, and you can go back and check, the 10 tribes of Israel were already in captivity. Because remember, when we came up out of that captivity, that was during the time of the Medo-Persian Empire, when they went to rebuild the temple. The 10 tribes had already been gone at that point. And the reason why we know that is because when the 10 tribes went into that captivity by the Assyrians, YAHuWaH was still a nation. We still had our kings. King Hezekiah, King Uzziah, right? You remember that? So it was after the last king when we went into the Babylonian captivity. Because when we came out the Babylonian captivity, we didn't have a king. There was not a new king of YAHuWaH. We were subject to the Medo-Persian Empire at that time. We didn't have no established king like we did before we went into the Babylonian captivity. The last king, who was the last king? I should know. Was it Hezekiah? Because that was during Hezekiah, Josiah.
Can we just look this up last week?
Huh?
Did we look this up last week?
We probably did. But the point is that when we came up out of that Babylonian captivity, there was no king of YAHuWaH, and Israel, the 10 tribes, was gone. So when we read this here, people would say, oh, this Babylon that we're reading about, talking about the old Babylon. It can't be the old Babylon because verse 4 lets us know in those days and in that time, says Yah, the children of Yisrael shall come and the children of YAHuWaH together. So that can't be the old Babylon. That has to be the future daughter of Babylon because that never happened yet. Israel and YAHuWaH has never came together again ever. Right? Because when Israel left, YAHuWaH was still a nation. Right. But when YAHuWaH went into the Babylonian captivity for them 70 weeks or whatever and came back, they didn't come back as an autonomous nation. We were always ruled by another nation. And they the one called the shots. They the ones that put whoever they wanted to above us, okay? So that's just, again, letting us understand prophecy. So again, verse 4 says, in those days and in that time, says Yah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of YAHuWaH together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek YAHuWaH their Elohim. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to YAHuWaH in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. My people has been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill and have forgotten their resting place. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against YAHuWaH. And I believe that's what, our adversary even think to this day. Like, man, we could do whatever we want to with them because they the one messed up. Huh?
Yeah, they said they have sinned.
Right. That's deep. But that's what he said. He says, what verse was I just at? For they have sinned against Yah, verse 7, the habitation of justice, even YAHuWaH, the hope of their fathers. Verse 8, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of Chaldeans and be as the he goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. That's at least the second or third time we read this about the north country. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, and their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, says YAHuWaH. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage. Because you are grown fat as the heifer grass and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because the wrath of Yah, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against YAHuWaH. Shout against her round about. She have given her hand. Her foundations are fallen. Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yahuah. Take vengeance upon her as she had done. Do unto her. And interestingly enough, as just me personally, as long as I've been teaching this or whatever, then you try to fathom in your mind, which I still can't fathom in my mind, the specific dynamic of how this stuff is going down. But shoot, I'm pretty sure it's probably safe to say that there's been no president of the United States hated around the world as Trump. That if you ever saw this being a possibility that the nations will rise up against America, it would have to be somebody like Trump being the president, because he is not liked the world over, and for good reason. But it's just weird because, we done read this before, and Obama was president, but yet we could really picture, okay, but some people did teach that Obama, that's the new Antichrist or whatever, but there's always been each president called the Antichrist, which I never bought into at all. But, yeah. And I think when I came into this, I think Reagan was the president when I first came into this walk. And then everybody was talking about Ronald Wilson Reagan. That's your sits right there, right? But that's what it was. But when you look at somebody like a Trump, it's just he's like, man. Like, and because that's what it says all these nations are going to come against her.
Right.
All a conglomerate of nations. So, we don't have it within us right now to kind of formulate in our mind. But the closest that we ever could come to is right at this point.
It's true.
I mean, the dude can literally start a Twitter war and get us killed.
Then they said his son-in-law, what he called his son. Their business building is in New York. The address is 666.
Wow. What is that at 666? That's not Trump Tower, is it?
No, it's not Trump Tower.
Okay.
It's his son-in-law.
Okay. Oh, Jared, whatever his name is. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
I heard they spent 3 times what it's worth in that building.
Wow.
I still don't understand how you have all your kids, to become kind of rulers with you.
Right. Which is unconstitutional, by the way.
Yeah.
It is. That's against the Constitution.
Yeah, they're standing in places of other people who were actually voted into
Yeah.
their position.
Yeah.
And they're standing in their place and making all these decisions
Right.
For America.
Yeah. Yeah, when they first started that with his daughter, they stressed that how the Constitution do not support that dynamic. That's unconstitutional. He done things that's so contrary to the Constitution, and people don't even. It's almost like the people just like turn a blind eye to the stuff that he do. Basically, man.
I feel bad because I'm very naive of what's happening in the world at this point, because I kind of I look away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't watch the news anymore. Like, I just don't even. Every once in a while I might see something on like a news feed kind of thing, but other than that, I try to avoid it.
I understand that.
I just don't, and I mean, as long as I'm surviving, as long as I'm breathing, as long as, I have my health and I'm grateful for that, that's all I can be thankful for.
Right, because you can't do nothing about that.
You get too involved with it, and before you know it, my next door neighbor has like freaking Fox News on every day, and people get really involved with it.
Right.
It becomes an obsession.
Right.
And I just, I'm like, okay, yep, Trump is awful. That's what else are you gonna do? I mean, so is the other one, and so is the other one, and they're not.
Yeah.
And I don't vote, so I don't have.
Yeah.
If I didn't vote, I have no say so. Well, I don't want to have a say so. I really, at this point, I'm a slave to this world too.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. I get all my stuff like on YouTube. I do look at Jason A. They give you I like to look at what's going on all the world, not just here. But everything repeats itself.
Yeah.
But
that's true. There's nothing new under the sun.
That usually I don't be looking at the the chat on the thing. I don't, because I be reading whatever. But somebody told me to say to kind of laugh, because I guess they can't really hear you guys good. But basically, she was just saying how basically it's so much negativity that is on the news and related to politics and what's going on in this world that, you know, you can't really do anything about it but basically be depressed by it. Yeah. And because you are so involved in wanting to have the best life that you can have, focus on the things in your household, because, and I understand that because I'm the exact same way. You just don't want to have to put energy into something that you really can't really do anything about. Right, control. And see, and I'm exactly like that too, exactly like that. But I'm also like that concerning the land of Israel, because I don't want to put myself over there in a place that I call home, because I'm used to being second class here. I accept my second class citizenship here because I understand what it's about. If I didn't understand what it's about, I'd be in a world of trouble. I might be in jail. I might be killed. I might be something. But because I understand what this country is, and I understand that at the end of the day, the Father, the one put us here for this, then I have to, just like what you just said, function in it in the best way that I can. Just like in another place, when we went into that Babylonian captivity, he told us, look, occupy, build houses, build guards. That's what he told us to do in the scripture concerning Babylon. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That's what I'm doing right here. Say, huh? Yes. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not going to be sitting up here continually crying about something that I have no control over. Because it does, maybe some people it don't affect. It do affect me. I don't dig negativity in my life by no stretch of the imagination, and I do the very best in my ability not to bring negativity to others. I do. I live my life like that. So I'm just saying, you know, some people can function in it. Some people do function in it. Some people thrive off of that.
Okay.
Right.
People that are driving in their cars, listening to news talk, radio,
yeah.
Limbaugh, and all
yeah.
that on a daily
yeah.
basis. I'm like, oh, how?
Right.
How can you even stand
yeah.
5 minutes of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Hateful.
But even the negativity they cause in their own lives.
Right.
Because sometimes what it causes fear. If fear builds up and it causes us to turn to the wrong people in order to help protect us and not actually return into our Bible, return into YAH for guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, that's what I'm just seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. And indeed, and again, that is why the Shabbat is just such a blessing. Mm-hmm. It is. It's especially to be able to come to a class where we collectively can just open up these scriptures together and just really see how the Father is really unfolding this, because it really is. It almost like it settles, it calms whatever, you know, man. And because I'm gonna tell y'all what I did at exactly 1:00 today, about an hour before I got here, which I probably shouldn't have. But I was just, whatever. I had rolled through downtown, and I saw it was just one Israelite that was on one of the corners there. And he had this thing stuff out there, and he was going crazy, cursing and going on. I pulled over, and because I didn't really have time, I said, dude, you know, you're making us look bad. And so he started cursing me out, and he was going off on me and whatever. Oh, man, because I had my kufi on. Man, you got your head covered? I said, well, what does Scripture say about head cover? Show it to me. Oh, I'm sure it to you. I know. I said, sure. But then he asked me a question. He says, how many laws, that's what they do. They try to like quiz you. How many laws are there in the Scriptures? I just looked at him like, bro, however many laws it is, it don't apply to you, okay? But it's 613 laws. Why are you asking me a question that don't have nothing to do with? I'm here telling you about you making us look bad. Cursing out here, cursing these people out in the middle of the street, you know. And then he started calling me all these names or whatever. But like, you know, I got in the car. So my spirit was kind of like, if I allowed it to be, it would.
You already knew the answer before you even pulled up of what was gonna.
Exactly. You know, exactly. You got that right. But I needed him to understand that whatever he had been exposed to, because it's all an internet thing, that they see these Israelites and they like, copying them. Brother, all of us are not, this is not what's good. You know, I needed to put that word in him, and sure enough, when I got in the concert, I'm hearing him in the background. His whole morning just got messed up. So I'm like, you know, the Father's word don't go out void. He might not hear it now, but if he had never ever seen an Israelite come up to him and tell him what you're doing is not correct, I was content with that, and I drove off. So I wouldn't, you know, like you say, I knew, but
it planted a seed. You never know.
Right, right.
The same way when we were in Hemming Plaza, you know, people constantly come in and interrupt, and then you know, it was just one of those things.
Right.
Hey, maybe there was something that
Right.
benefited from.
Right.
Hearing,
Exactly.
hearing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hopefully, y'all will.
Right. But I said, man, I could just drive off and just, you know, because he was right there on what corner was that? Laura. Where the library is, yeah, but across the street where that restaurant is. He's right there on the corner, yeah. And it's like, I'm like, dude, I just, man, you making us look bad out here. You know, this is not, you know, the scripture don't tell you no way that this is what you need to be doing out here, cursing. And then it was another guy there. He was a Gentile, and he I guess he was just listening to him, and then he kicked the garbage can, whatever. He was mad. I don't know what he was mad at. I don't even know if he was mad because of what the dude was saying or whatever. But he was like, but because the dude was giving a bad energy anyway. Yeah. So you probably don't even hear what he's saying just by listening to whatever he's saying. This ain't gonna make you feel good. Period. And so I say, you see that Gentile that did that? I say, bro, you and him got the same exact spirit. You might be looking at what this dude did and thinking that he's wild, but you wilder than this dude here. There ain't none of that the spirit of the Most High, you know. So, yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, but I just use that as an example of just how certain dynamics that you can expose yourself to will absolutely put you in a...
Oh, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so we absolutely, especially in this day and age... Because if you even go back to the election, man, and again, nobody, well, I ain't gonna say nobody, some people actually did, but not a lot of people knew that Trump himself didn't think he would win. Straight up. He didn't think he was gonna win. That same night, he didn't think he was gonna win. But when the results came, it was a whole spirit that you could feel, the spirit of depression, the spirit of what's going to happen now, the spirit of, you know, it wasn't a good spirit. You know, people was, man, but like you said, that just is not a good dynamic to you have to do what you just said. You have to look at your faith and look at the Father, because he is the only one that is going to get you on the other side of that. Him and the knowledge that he puts in us, this wisdom, this truth, be like, you know what? That's not the end all be all. But like he said to them, it is the end all be all, right? But it's not the end all be all, absolutely. So, man.
Glenn, he always said, yeah, you said that.
What's that?
Glenn always said, he always says the end all be all. That was always you.
Oh, that's where he got that from? The end all be all, yeah. Man, I got to stop saying stuff all the time.
I
right.
Like it.
Mm-hmm.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Sorry to get sidetracked there, but...
Yeah. Now, you made me think about that portrait he painted that I posted the other day. You saw that? Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you really need to apologize for that. Let me let me see. Yeah. No, I'm gonna tell you, Glenn was her ex. That when I first came down, he was actually one of the first people I met here in 2003. Man, right there down, he was at the San Marco Theater. You know, man, real cool brother. That, you know, he ended up having certain issues, but even in all that, you know, he was an awesome brother, and he passed about a few years ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago now, right? Huh? Oh, in May. Okay. Yeah. Right, May 23rd. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. He named his son after me. Yep. Yeah.
And he helped bring me into the truth.
Right.
That was,
Yeah.
I mean,
I was telling when I came here, I had an all Gentile congregation. All Gentiles. I was the only Israelite. I'll never forget that how funny that was too, because when I had met Key, and I had told her, so because she reached out to me because of the website. I'm like, yeah, okay. I said, I want to come to class or whatever. She came to class, she was like, whoa.
Old New Yorker Key there.
Huh?
I said the New Yorker Key.
Yeah, yeah. Specifically Philly, but right.
Oh, Philly, yeah.
Right, Yeah, that was my wife. Yeah. Anyway, wow. So you bring on these. Man, anyway, where did we just leave off?
I think verse 7 and 50.
Okay, verse 7. Okay, right. So verse 8 says, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans and be as the he goats before the flock. For I will raise up a great... is that where I left off? I tell you what, let's skip down. I'm going to skip all the way down to verse 16. Verse 16 says, cut off the sword from Babylon and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn everyone to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. And that's interesting. So that's Jeremiah 50. When it talks about flee everyone to his own land, it kind of reminds us of the Day of Atonement. Remember in the year of Jubilee. In Jubilee, when it says every man will go back to his own possessions, that's prophetic, because that's exactly what's going to happen in the day of the Most High, that every man's going to go back to his own land. 17, Yisrael is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria had devoured him, and last this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had broken his bones. Therefore, thus says YAH of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation. And again, he says, I will bring Israel to his habitation. Now, again, if I'm reading this right, he's going to have to first punish the oppressor before he bring us into our habitation. It's not before that dynamic. It's the order in which he's doing it. And he's absolutely going to bring us into his habitation. And I absolutely, in my opinion, I can wait till he bring me into that habitation. Because if I go before that, I might get, I don't know, I ain't going to see, huh? Right, but a lot of people, a lot of Israelites, they be talking about, man, you ain't did nothing unless you going back to the land and do this. I'm like, Nope, that's not. You got to give me some scripture before you can just tell me what you experienced over there, because I'm sure that there are seducing spirits there, just like there are seducing spirits.
Yeah, they're doing the gay pride.
Yeah, which is the biggest parade in the world that I heard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 16-year-old kids are going into the military. I mean, it's just, it's not safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not safe.
It's
My friend that went, this was probably about, maybe about 7 years ago when she had went. And she said it was interesting, because they did go and visit on the Sabbath, so there wasn't a lot of places to eat. All they food was like a day old. But I still was very like, it would be nice, but I don't know if I would want to go back. I would want to go, go there. So, no, it's not for me to want to go unless I was called to go.
Right,
so
right. Yeah.
That's something, especially now.
Yeah.
I definitely would.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, if I had a Christian mindset, Christian dynamic, then absolutely. I want to go to the origin of my faith. I want to see what Jericho did, this and that, because I'm looking at it from a Christian dynamic. But if I'm looking at it from a dynamic of that's my heritage dynamic, that's two different dynamics altogether. It's just two different dynamics. But Absolutely, but so he gives us a order here. He said he got to punish these kings, and then he will bring Israel, verse 19, again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. In those days and in that time, says Yahuwah, the iniquity of Yisrael shall be sought for, and there shall be none. And the sins of Yahudah, and they shall not be found. For I will pardon them whom I reserve. Man, don't y'all want to be part of that number right there? I know I do. Because you talking about, that whatever iniquity that we done did, like, it ain't even going to exist no more. It's done. But those Israelites over there, there's iniquity all over the place in the land right now, even among Israel, not just among the Gentiles over there. It's don't know. Scripture don't support that. I'm sorry, just don't. Skipping down to verse 28, it says, the voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahuwah Elohim, the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her for her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her. For she hath been proud against Yahuwah, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all men of war shall be cut off in that day, says Yahuwah. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, says Yahuwah Elohim of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up, and I will kindle a fire in his cities, and he shall devour all round about him. Thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Yahudah will press together. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. Let me skip down there. Okay. But anyway, I'm pretty much reading the same thing because it's kind of repeating itself over and over. And Scripture lets you know that that's a sure prophecy. Matter of fact, I'm going to finish this in verse 40. As Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, says Yahuwah, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, the people shall come for about the fourth time from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. They shall hold the bow in the lands. They are cruel and would not show mercy. Their voices shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses. Everyone put in array like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. Okay, so again, that's future prophecy, and I'm going to read that 46th verse. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. Okay, so that's going to be a really heavy thing that's going to happen at that time. And again, all that's happening is pointing toward our deliverance. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then if we go into the 51st chapter, go into I'm just gonna skip down and go into the fourth verse. It says, "Thus the slain shall fall in the land of Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Yisrael have not been forsaken, nor Yahudah of his Elohim of Yahuwah of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahuwah's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense. Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahuwah's hand, and made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country again. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up to the skies. Yahuwah hath brought forth thy righteousness, and come let us declare in Zion the work of Yahuwah our Elohim. Okay, so we have identified Babylon, and we have read the judgments of Babylon and see how Babylon have done to Yahudah and Israel together as a people because of Yahudah and Israel's wickedness against the Most High. But yet, Babylon went far and above, beyond how they have dealt with the Father's people, okay? So now the thing is, with us being told to flee, that's when we're going to get into the whole dynamic of the wilderness, because we're not fleeing into Israel. Nowhere in here did it tell us that the Holy Land is where we are fleeing to. Let's go into Matthew 24. We're going to go into Matthew 24 and bring it down from there. Let me see. I got about 45 minutes. Matthew 24. Let's see what we can glean there. Matthew 24. I'm going to start this at verse 1. Matthew 24 and verse 1. And it reads, it says, and Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there should not be left here one stone upon another that should not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of the coming and of the end of the world? Now, here's the thing here, and a lot of people don't really kind of understand how this is read. Yeshua is absolutely going to prophesy from a dynamic of end time. And the only reason why he's doing that is because he himself will admit in these verses that he don't know when these things are going to take place. And this is the reason why people get confused with Matthew 24 and Luke 21, because they know that some of the prophecies has taken place in 70 AD. But from Yeshua's mindset, he spoke it as if his coming is going to be like right after that. But later on, he will reveal to the apostles that, hey, I don't know when the Father will put this in this power, but you shall receive the Holy. You know what I'm saying? But before then, there was this expectation of him coming. And even though he would suggest, even his own suggestion, that it's going to be in this time, it would be later on when he say, hey, even the Son, only the Father knows when I'm going to come back. So because people don't understand that dynamic, they kind of they don't get this, because some of this that we're reading about has absolutely already happened, but a great part of it has not yet happened. Okay, and so that's why. So the question is, what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yeshua answered and said to them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear wars, rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. And we can definitely see that a lot of stuff is going on right now, to the extent that it has not happened from a global dynamic. And I mean, we talking about global dynamic, but even Yeshua, from this dynamic here, did not have a dynamic of global. I'm talking about from this 30 AD, because they don't know nothing about the Western Hemisphere. The whole half of the earth was foreign to everybody here. You see what I'm saying? I mean, common sense. But we now are global now. They weren't global then. But we are global now, so we can understand something that they even couldn't understand, even though they prophesied about it. Right. But they did try to understand it from their dynamic, but it really wasn't for them to understand, if that makes sense. Same thing when we're going to go into Daniel, we're going to read the same thing. He's going to tell Daniel all these divine prophecies, and Daniel's going to ask questions like, look, this ain't for you, Daniel.
Right, yeah.
We're gonna read that. You're gonna die. This is not for you. But anyway, so it says, verse 8. He says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. So we are at the beginning of sorrows right now because we see all these things is going on a rapid rate. He says, they shall deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Now, that happened to a certain extent back there because all the apostles, all of them, except for, as far as I know, except for John, he was probably the only one that wasn't killed or crucified or whatever. But he was imprisoned on the Greek Isle of Patmos. So all evil things happened to the believers at that point, but still the assembly grew. And the assembly grew that because of Yahshua and the work that he did, it reached the Gentiles. And I tell everybody, if this truth had not reached the Gentiles, we wouldn't know the truth. See, most Israel can't accept that. But it's just raw and uncut truth. When we came into captivity, we didn't come into captivity with no Bibles and the Word or nothing like that. The only thing that we had, as far as I know, we had the name. We had YAH. We knew YAH because it was in the songs that we sung. But as far as this right here, unless it was part of our tradition or whatever, we didn't really have it collectively like this. But he had it reserved to us by the channel that he brought it to us through Rome and the church, basically. And they had it because of what Yahshua did with the apostles, teaching them and converting them. So when you look at the historical order, we can't have these emotional beliefs or whatever. We have to understand historically how this happened. I tell everybody, like, look, 70 AD happened. We were gone into captivity. In 70 AD, we were out of the land. But you still had believers there that wasn't even in Israel. They were Gentiles. When we look at movies like Spartacus, Ben-Hur, Androcles and the Lion and all that, those were Gentiles that were being hung on crosses. That's what they were. We were gone. We were out of the land. And Rome were killing their own people for 200 plus years until Constantine came on the scene. He's like, damn, we got to do something. And that's why he created his brand of Christianity. That was the reason why. Because he could not kill the movement of this truth that was being preached throughout Rome, throughout YAHuWaH, Judea, and all the places that the apostles touched. They were in this thing. And so when he created, and so I guess you can almost say it's like a kind of a good thing, so to speak, that he created a pagan Christianity or whatever, but it was kind of for our benefit because that was the path in which it preserved what we're reading out of right now. Because without this, that Mount Zion church over there would definitely be the temple of Zeus.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Church of Diana. And Catholics still have those things. Like they got the Queen of Heaven, whatever, right?
Yeah,
but it's pagan Christianity, not the actual Queen of Heaven that, you know what I'm saying? But we know what it is, but
we know it only because of this.
right.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Right.
Because at one time, a lot of Christmas, all those pagan holidays was banned to be.
Yes.
Back
That's
in the
true.
day, was banned in the United States.
That's true.
Then they find that people are coming with that, and people stop going to church.
Mm-hmm.
They said, okay, let's kind of bring them back into church. Let's kind to bring those pagan beliefs and kind to and blend them with the Bible, to bring them back into the church, and that's kind of what's happened from you know, from now on.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
But see, what basically, right. Well, you know, basically, all that existed. All that existed already. It just so happened that you had a specific sect that were absolutely trying to do it the best way they could, which were the Puritans. That's what they were called, the Puritans. Mm-hmm. So that specific sect was the ones that were principal in coming over here. Mm-hmm. Because part of the reason was they tell you it was religious differences, right? Mm-hmm. Even though I don't know if we know specifically what it is, and I don't know because I haven't really studied it. But now that you mention it, this one sect called the Puritans were the ones specific into absolutely trying to really deal with this from a way which was way more sanctified or holy than the conventional church. And they were the ones, Christmas, oh no, we know where Christmas comes from, okay? I don't care how nice it looks, you're not bringing that here. So they were just this one sanctified sect that tried to do it. So, man, that's a good study to really look at to see exactly what, because that's what they said. The people on the Mayflower, they left because of religious persecution, but I never really knew exactly what it was. And you done just touched on it, you know, because the Puritans was set apart from conventional, that's deep. That's, you know what, when I see stuff like that, and then I'm gonna be looking on TV next week, and it's gonna be something right on there. I'm gonna be like, wow, that happens a lot, don't it? We were just talking about this in class, and they're gonna come on. I'm even gonna look for it. It's gonna be right there. The History Channel, the Puritans, the Sanctified of the Most High. But absolutely. But whatever it was, though, the Father absolutely had a way for Israel to absolutely be revived through his word that was bought, however it was bought. But anyway, back in Matthew 24. Matthew 24 says, verse 10, it says, and then shall many be offended and betray one another, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. That's the salvation that we need to really concern ourselves with, because, you know, there are two types of salvation. It's a salvation that you get once you become a believer, baptized in his blood, and that means you're saved from your sins that are past. But you're not saved with that everlasting salvation until the end. A lot of people kind of get those two kind of mixed up, but we're
you can still be a believer, that don't mean that you're saved.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to do his will.
Yeah. You have to do what he just said there. You have to endure until the end. You got it. You got the forgiveness, the grace, you know, deliverance from the judgment that you were under, because we all have sinned and come short of the glory of the Most High. So you come up under that blood, but now you have to do what you need to do to stay worthy of that grace that was given to you. Okay? And he said, and this good news of this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Okay, so this is what's happening and what's going to happen, was something that we are absolutely looking forward to, that this good news is being preached into all, the real good news. Because see, this real good news is not something that the world will want to hear, the raw and uncut good news. But once the world get a hold of it, that is, according to the way that I understand it, is when those persecutions are going to come about. You know, like, just as an example of that, let me use this as an example. Again, you know, I talk about this all the time. Colin Kaepernick, he's an example. You know, it's like, okay, everyone is minding their own business until this brother decided he's going to take a knee. Now he takes a knee, haven't called nobody out their name, haven't done no crime or did nothing else, but now the world, you know, a certain big segment of the world is upset at him. Upset at him so much that they would not allow him to play football. because of what he did. And what he did is what is detrimental to our daily lives, if that makes any sense. That's how they feel about it. Right. 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 I'm using that as an example of saying that once the world become aware of this truth, then it's like, you're going to have the segment and be like, oh, yes, I absolutely will embrace this truth. But other people that are so caught up in their way of life and their traditions will do what? Be ready to do bodily harm to the people that represent this truth. That's why I say he's a good example, because they can't say anything against this cat at all. They can't, other than he don't agree with Babylon. Right? Right. Yeah. And so that is just an example of how it's gonna go down with this. But if the people have not been made aware of whatever this is that Colin Kaepernick is dealing with, then they wouldn't have nothing to be mad about. And everyone will still be standing for the allegiance, and it'll be all good. So again, we can kind of just see that as an example of because people, I used to ask people like, man, is your belief a belief that will cause you to be murdered? Think about that. Is your belief a belief that will cause the average person to really want to do physical harm to you? Because if your belief is a belief that's accepted by people worldwide, then that can't be the truth that you are. Yeah. That's right. Right? About eating the pork. Oh man, yeah.
And they all died.
Yeah.
But that's
right.
I'd say no, I'll die.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right. That's a real good example, because conventional philosophy would be to leave the sister alone and let her not eat pork. Leave the family alone, but to them it was very important that she ate this pork.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's like weird. Right. Exactly. Absolutely. But that is absolutely the difference between the kingdom of the Most High and the kingdom of men. That's just the difference, And again, using Colin Kaepernick as an example, even us as an example, we're not specifically looking at other people and getting mad at you because you do this, do that. But you are getting mad at me because I do this or do that. See, the same Colin, man, why are you standing up there for that? No, that ain't what he's doing. He's saying this is what I do. I'm not being part about that. I'm not mad at you because you do this, that, and the other. I'm not.
Because people get offended by our actions that we're not telling them what they can.
Right.
They get offended by our actions. Even like we talked about, not eating pork. People get offended if you say, oh, no, I'm not going to eat it. I don't eat pork. They get really offended.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm looking like,
right.
I didn't say you couldn't
right.
do whatever
right.
you want, but I don't eat
right.
it. I'm not. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and argue. Because even if I sit there and tell them why, it becomes more of an argument. They're not really listening to what you're saying, and it just keeps going on and on.
Correct.
I just don't eat.
Yeah. And sometimes you're right. As much as you be wanting to really try to break down stuff to them, it's always good to kind of glean the spirit first, because it ain't for everybody. And sometimes you can just end up frustrating yourself, and that's not what you want to do. You don't want to put yourself in that place. But like you say, it's like, man, people, and like I say, pork, and if it ain't pork, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
It's the holidays. Yeah.
I'm so dreading it right now.
Yeah. And one of the main things, if you got children, how are you going to deprive your children? It's like they be ready to call social services on you because you ain't got your children going out for Halloween or whatever. And then a lot of times they'll try to turn it back around on you to make it seem like you the one judging them. That's what they do. Don't they turn around? You judging me. No, I'm not judging you. You judging me. Man, but it's crazy. And a lot of other times, the I call them the more smarter ones, they'll try to say, Well, back in Leviticus, it said that you're supposed to wear all 100% cotton. Let me look at the tag you got on the back of your.
Oh.
Yeah. Or they'll throw other parts, they'll learn of other parts. So look, I've seen preachers do that now. They do that. They get deep into the law to show you, look, you ain't doing that. So.
Or they just say that in the Bible they said that, God made all things good.
Right.
You'll hear that.
Right.
It's like, yeah, there's a purpose for everything.
Yes, absolutely.
For everything. Not only that is for us to eat.
Yup, that's correct. That's correct. Absolutely.
That was something else.
Yep. Best believe everything that he created, according to Genesis, the first chapter, he said he looked at it and it was good. He sure did. And then I'm like, okay, so when I fry up this rat, I want you to eat it because I guarantee you with this barbecue sauce, it'll be the best thing you ever tasted. They be like, oh, okay, I thought you said it was good. I'll try to help you out. Do you a favor. Trying to make you stand fast in your gospel. That's what I'm trying to do. And they'd be quick to agree with you then. Because they'd be saying all that stuff on Facebook where you see them things. You ever see that? On Facebook, they be showing pictures of the Asian people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they
because some of my cooks, I'm friends with them on Facebook. So one of them specifically, I mean, they eat everything. They don't waste anything. And,
wow.
It's also poverty, too. So they were never taught where they're from. It's kind of like, just some of the poorest, places in the world that they're from. From Laos especially. Yeah. And so, the one girl, she posted something. I'm like, you're not allowed to post this. This is just, I can't even use an example. I mean, because there's been several different things that she's posted. I think she gets them banned off of Facebook or something because it will be like, someone eating dog or whatever.
Yeah.
So, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Well, they strip them things and then skin them and cook them and put them in a dish. Well, you think it's chicken the way they be looking, the way they have all them beautiful vegetables. Yeah, it's crazy. But the people don't really think. They want to believe one thing. You put them to the task, they be like, oh no, that's okay. Let me see. What I leave off at? It says right. It says verse 14. But this gospel or good news shall be preached the kingdom shall be preaching in all the world for a witness unto all nations, then shall the end come. When you therefore shall see the abomination and desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So again, he put us to the point of this entity that he calls the abomination desolation. When we see this abomination desolation stand in the holy place, we go into Daniel, which we're going to go to and read it. When he stands in the holy place, he said, then let them which be in YaHuWaH flee into the mountains. Now again, it's twofold. Because we're going to look in the prophecies and see that this is going to happen, even though they consider Titus to be the fulfillment of this as well. When he came and came into Jerusalem and destroyed Jerusalem, they thought that was because some of the prophecies do fit that. Mm-hmm. But then when we go into Revelations, which we're going to go into, we're going to see that the prophecies still stand, which is important because Revelations was written 20 years after Titus. Right. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So here it is. So he says, so Yeshua has absolutely let them know, even in Luke, that there's going to be destruction in the land, in Jerusalem. You're going to have to flee. So he spoke it from a dynamic right there in terms of this is the end time. Because isn't that what he was questioning? What should be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? He never came back. But they absolutely thought that in their lifetime, he would be coming back. So he's giving them this prophecy when you shall see this abomination desolation, he said, let them which be in YAHuWaH flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And warn to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Shabbat day. For then shall be great tribulation. And this verse right here lets you know that this has to be in time. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. That can only happen one time. Right? So if it already happened in 70 AD, then that means that there's no great tribulation to look forward to now, future. Verse 22 says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days should be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Messiah, or there, believe it not, for there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Okay, so the point of me coming to this specifically was to show that there's this entity that's called the abomination desolation, that he's warning us that we have to look to, that when we see this entity stand in the holy place, then he says you're going to have to flee. You're going to have to get out of here, because he's going to put things in place that unless you are in a place of safety, you're going to be destroyed. So that's basically the reason why I came here in this specific Matthew 24, just to warn. And he's called abomination desolation, but most people nowadays know him as the Antichrist or the anti-Messiah. But when we see him stand in a holy place, that means that wherever we be at that time, we need to move into a place of safety unless we get caught up and destroyed by this entity. So we have a means to escape that. But some of us are not going to escape it. Some of us will not escape it. And we're going to read that. So now let's go into 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. And the focus is on the this man of sin, abomination, desolation. Because again, we start off on Mystery Babylon. We ain't really done reading all about Mystery Babylon, but now we're into the whole wilderness dynamic that we're going to focus on for a minute, which is going to be through this man of sin. What did I say? Second Thessalonians. Oh, okay. 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter, right. I had to reorder my lesson. That's what made me lose. 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter. I'm going to start this off at the first verse. And the first verse, it reads, it says, actually, let me start off at the first chapter. First chapter, verse 6. Then we're going to go down into it. Let me see. 2 Thessalonians, 1st chapter, verse 6 says, seeing it is a righteous thing with Elohim to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you, which is basically what we've been reading about in Jeremiah and Isaiah concerning Mystery Babylon, how they troubled Israel and YAHuWaH. And he's asking the question, seeing it is a righteous thing with Elohim to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. And to you who are troubled, rest with us, when the Master Yeshua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels, and flaming fire taking vengeance on them that know not Elohim, and that obey not the gospel of our Master Yeshua Messiah, who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of YAH and from the glory of his power, when he shall come to be glorified in his saints, and to be admired in all them that believe, because our testimony among you was believed in that day. Wherefore also we pray always for you, that our Elohim would count you worthy of this calling, and fulfill all the good pleasure of his goodness, and the work of faith with power, that the name of our Master Yeshua Messiah may be glorified in you, and ye in him, according to the grace of our Elohim and the Master Yeshua HaMashiach. Verse chapter 2, verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Master Yeshua Messiah, and by gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that day of Messiah is at hand. Now again, this is a letter that Paul wrote to the Thessalonians. And Paul, and even in his time, was thinking from a present dynamic that, oh, he's going to come back in our day. He absolutely alluded to that many times in his writings, okay? But we know, and then he will come to know, matter of fact, at the end of, I think at the end of Timothy, he's going to finally realize that, oh, he's not coming back in my day, but there's laid up a crown for me that I will receive in that day. He says it then, but until then, he absolutely was on the mindset that, oh, it's going to be in my lifetime. But that's what he says. He said, look, don't y'all be troubled by spirit, word, or letter from us as the day of the Messiah is at hand. He said, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So this is talking about the same individual, whether you call him the abomination of desolation, the man of sin, son of perdition, Antichrist. That's 4 different titles right there. Okay. He says, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worship, so that he as Elohim sitteth in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Just like you say, they got the, was you the one to say that about the stuff that they're having over there in the land? Which one of y'all? One of y'all said that. The stuff that they're doing in the land right now with the
the gay pride and stuff?
No, as far as the temple, the rebuilding of the temple and stuff like
I
that.
didn't say it, but I was thinking that. But yeah, they rebuilding the temple.
Right.
They wanted to now.
Mhm.
They're trying to figure out where the water was coming, like how they got the water into the temple. So the underground water.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. And like you, and I think they said something about they, dealing with the red heifer, and they getting all that ready to institute the sacrifices and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
They was trying to figure out where was it before, where did, who was it? Was it Jeremiah? They said where, it was trying to figure out where was the temple before
Right.
it was built.
Mhm.
And it's close to, now, I think it's not far from where the Muslim temple.
You know what? And you know what? I like to get credit where credit is due, because I honestly, I study. I don't really get stuff from other people. But when I was part of the first congregation that I was part of the Israel of God, I absolutely learned this from them. And we're going to read scripture and revelation regarding this. But you're right. They have the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock is the original site. I know that's one of the things I learned from them. And so they're not going to do anything with the Dome of the Rock. But the place right outside of the Dome of the Rock is where they're going to build this up. And in Revelation 11 chapter, which we're going to probably read next week, because I'm not going to finish this there, that is going to allude to that whole dynamic there in terms of where that temple that they build is going to actually be. Because the original site is, like you said, the Muslim thing is the Dome of the Rock. That's the original site of it. But anyway, when we say, it says, verse 3 again, verse 4. He says, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, and that is worship, so that he as Elohim sit in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now you know what withholding, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity do already work. Only he who now let it will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his coming, and shall destroy with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. For this cause Elohim shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So basically, I just read this to even show again the whole dynamic of this Antichrist, this man of sin, and how he's going to have to be revealed in order for these things to happen. Because you done had different people, even in our lifetime, says the world's coming to an end on this date, or, the world's coming to the end, or Yeshua's coming back on this day, whatever. But he letting us know that, wait a minute, how you going to tell me he's coming to the end, and you can't tell me who the man of sin is? It says the man of sin must be revealed before he comes. So if you're going to say, oh, he's coming back December 25th or whatever, then who the man of sin is? Or you don't know who the man of sin is, okay. And the thing is, whoever that man of sin is, at that particular point in time, we're not going to be debating on who he is. We're going to agree that right there is absolutely the man of sin. He's going to get ready. He's going to be going into Jerusalem, dealing with that temple that's there, and he's going to be doing all of these things. Oh, we're not going to be debating on who the man of sin is. We're going to know who he is, but at the same time, we need to be getting ready to be headed to that place of safety, because that man of sin is going to do some damage to the saints of the Most High, which we're going to read about next Shabbat as I finish this. Let me see. I think I want to read one more place. Let's go on to Daniel. We're going to go on to Daniel. That's what we're going to end up to here in Daniel. Daniel, the 7th chapter. Daniel 7th chapter. And I'm going to start this at the first verse. Daniel 7 and verse 1. Daniel 7 and verse 1, and it reads, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and vision of his head upon his bed, and he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld, to the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and he calls him a beast here, which is the term he uses in Revelations a lot, right? The beast, which we're going to read next week. And his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, and all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions in my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I will know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with its feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Okay, so again, in Christianity, they talk about this rapture. Yeshua going to come and cause these people to escape from this horn, this man of sin. But we ain't read that nowhere in the scriptures, though. We have not read that. He's saying that this horn will make war with the saints, and he's going to overcome them and prevail against them, meaning he's going to be winning this war against us. It ain't saying that they're going to be raptured up. Matter of fact, in Matthew, we just read, he says, except those days should be shortened, won't no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. The elect must still be on this earth, because if the elect was in heaven, he wouldn't have to shorten them days. That makes sense, right? Yeah. So as he said here, he said that same elect is the saints that he's going to make war against, and he's going to overcome them. And matter of fact, Revelation is going to say the exact same thing. It's going to say the exact. I don't know where they get these doctrines from, but yeah, this man of sin is going to do some strange things with the saints of the Most High. Verse 22, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall rise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and to think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, times, and dividing of time. So how long is that, y'all think? Yep, 3.5 years. Right, because you remember that other lesson I did, you have all these different designations, but they all 3.5 years. Times, and dividing times. Because we're going to say the same thing in another place. We're going to say 1,260 days. We're going to say 42 months. But it's the same exact time. Times, and matter of fact, it's going to say times and a half of times in another place. But here it said dividing the times. Verse 26, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. All right, so this is half of the lesson. When we do the second half of it next week, hopefully you'll be here. Hopefully. Y'all willing, absolutely. Shoot, y'all willing, I'll be here. But we're gonna continue talking about Mystery Babylon, the whole wilderness dynamic, and finally entering into the Holy Land and the end thing. But it's all about understanding that order and understanding what the Father is absolutely doing prophetically in our time. So
what we need to be doing.
And what we need to be doing, hallelujah, absolutely. So may y'all add a blessing to the reading of his word in Yeshua's name, hallelujah. All right.